They don't want to spend all of that teaching you grammar. All right?
There's a common phrase in RWA that an editor or an agent is not looking for a reason to buy you, they're looking for a reason to reject you. They've got too many books and only so many slots.
Yeah.
You know, so and the cleaner your manuscript, the better off you are because it's less work for them.
But that's not the only reason you can get rejected. Just having poor grammar skills or not having it properly edited or in the right format when you send it isn't the only reason. Your story may be wonderful, but they may already have bought something very similar to what you have. So you can't just stop at the one publisher. You're going to have to submit someplace else.
And the publisher is not always going to tell you why they're rejecting it. A lot of them will just give you a form letter, so you won't know whether it's the writing or whether it's that they just bought someone like that or what. So don't just do a hardy with the sword. Just go ahead and go to the next one.
But also, you need to do your due diligence up front to make sure that you're sending that particular publisher the kind of story that they buy. Because if you send, an inspirational line editor an erotic novel, she's going to reject it out of hand because you haven't sent her something that she wants to buy. And
you'll be the talk of the next editor's meeting.
And how do you do your research?
Read.
The market. Go out there and read the books. The books that you like to read, or the books that you think that you write like. Look at who's publishing those.
Yeah, look at the spines. Go look at the spines, and then look, at the
sometimes acknowledgments.
Little copyright page, because it'll tell you what publisher that was, and perhaps it'll say what line that was, and then you can do some Google research to figure out, what editors actually edit for that particular line.
And most big publishers, like Harlequin, have a guidelines website, and you can go out and Google their guidelines, and it'll tell you for each one of their lines, and lines being like this is an intrigue. They'll have the guidelines for an intrigue and say how long they have to be, what kind of content they're looking for, and how you go about submitting a proposal to them. And so most publishers will have something online, and if you don't find their guidelines online, you can go to the Writer's Digest book, which is available in your libraries usually. I don't know if you guys have one, do you? Writer's Digest? Probably do. And it'll list all the publishers that are out there and what they're looking for and how you submit to them. And so there's ways to go find that information.
And pay attention, if they say they want you to submit just a query letter first, don't send them your whole manuscript, because they won't even look at it. You'll have wasted the postage, you'll probably have made them mad, and they will think that you
didn't do your
homework, you didn't follow instructions.
Yeah. Editors want to know that you can follow instructions. If you can't follow the instructions, they're going to just another reason to reject.
Yeah, another reason to reject. Maybe they have 20 million vampire stories already, and they don't want to see another. They just up to their eyeballs with vampires, which is pretty much what it is right now.
Yeah, but they still sell.
I know. Well, they sell in the ebook because there's still readers out there who want it.
That are hungry.
But it's very, very hard to sell it to New York right now.
And then editing is very, very subjective. What one editor hates and the next editor might love. Look how many times J.K. Rowling got rejected, until she found something. He used to write short stories.
Dr. Seuss.
He used to write short stories to try to make a living, because it was what do you do, But until he finally sold.
And then if you want to talk about, the publishers, who out there is accepting stories right now? Well, you, of course, have the big New York markets. And I will tell you up front that if you sell to New York, don't think that you're actually going to make more money selling to New York than to another publisher. It's a fallacy. Unless you are getting that $250,000 advance.
Which, trust me, you'll be lucky you get 4 these days.
Oh, yeah. And it's scary. Even the people who actually get those kinds of advances, they have to sweat bullets that they actually sell enough books to make it worthwhile for their publisher. Because otherwise, they're out in the cold the next time around.
And just because you sell to New York doesn't mean you're going to sell your second book.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not a guarantee.
So yeah, you've got the big 5 publishers, but there's a lot of places out there that are looking for stories and that will pay for your stories. There are e-publishers, very reputable e-publishers out there. Everybody's got a Kindle. Everybody's got a Nook. You go out to Amazon.
That market is exploding.
It is.
Actually, that market, there was a CNN Money article yesterday that said that ebook sales in February were up 202% compared to a month or that same month a year earlier, and that put ebooks number one among all categories of trade publishing. First time they beat out traditional publishing formats, and it's just going to keep growing. It's not going to stop.
And we have a little list of names in the back of publishing companies that are e-publishers.
Yeah, we've got traditional publishers, e-publishers listed on the handout.
And there are some advantages to going with an e-publisher. Number one, usually their turnaround time for acceptance or rejection is going to be a heck of a lot faster. Pay-wise, okay, if you sell to the big publishers, guess what? You will get paid if you sell. Probably the year after the book has been sold, and those royalties will be paid every 6 months.
Well, and people think, okay, you have a 2-book deal and you sold and you got $15,000 for it. You're doing good, right? Well, you're going to get probably $4,000 when you sign that contract, and then you're going to get another $3,000 when you turn that first book in. Then you're going to get another piece of it when the book comes out. Then you're going to get
And that's
another
their advance
piece of
on
it.
royalties.
That's their advance.
And then when you get your royalties, they take that advance out of the royalties before they pay you anymore.
So if you didn't earn out, you may not ever get a
Yeah.
check from that. But if you do earn royalties, it'll be 6 months. You know, every 6 months you get a check. Now with e-publishers, they either pay quarterly or they pay monthly.
They don't pay advances. Most
Yes.
of them don't.
But
Or
you
if
get
they pay
paid
very
much
small.
faster, much faster.
But again, advances are advances on your royalties, so they take it back out of those royalties. It's not just a giving.
So,
But the advantage too is that there's more e-publishers out there than the big 5 New York publishers, more opportunities to sell, and they're more willing to take different kinds of stories. There's just a huge wide range of heat level in the stories that you can sell to e-publishers, as well as genres. I mean, I write for Sam Hain and I write for Laura's Cave. I write the sexy stuff, the really, raunchy, sexy stuff, okay? But I write science fiction as a subgenre, paranormal, fantasy, contemporary, cowboys. And I get to experiment. I don't get boxed in. When I wrote for Avon, which is one of the big publishers, when I wrote for Avon, I had to write vampires. When I wrote for Kensington, it had to be cowboys.
she couldn't write vampires for anybody else.
Yeah.
She was on contract.
Yeah.
Avon. So they.
And now I'm writing for Berkeley, and it's Vikings in space.
And I write for Harlequin. And my very first Harlequin intrigue, I had a paranormal element in it. I had a werewolf in it. And since then, I have not been able to write another paranormal element in any of my intrigues. She wants me to write, their hooks. Harlequin has hooks. The hooks are like cowboys, babies, pregnant heroines, secret babies, amnesia, whatever. But these hooks have proven to sell. And that's why they stick with their hooks.
And in the romance industry, Harlequin is the 900-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
I mean,
And everybody wants to, turn their nose up to it, but guess what? They sell most of the romances that, that however many.
Intrigues put out 6 books a month. So when my book comes out, it's up for 1 month and it's down. But
And
it's still
That's just one line a month,
That's
like
just one
20.
line. That's
Yeah.
20.
So,
And they sell to 26 different countries. So I mean, it gets.
yeah, she's
worldwide
got, what are
distribution.
your books in over there? You got Icelandic.
I've got Icelandic and what do I have?
What was it?
Lithuanian.
Lithuanian.
So yeah, when you're selling to e-publishers, there's advantages. You can also, a lot of authors, it used to be that the people, it used to be the people looked down on people who publish through e-publishing. They said, if you do that, then you'll never be taken seriously by New York. Well, guess what? New York was looking for the next new something that they could sell, and where did they go? They went to the e-publishers and started reading those authors. And that's where they found people like Cheyenne McCrae, Laura Lee, Shiloh Walker,
Maya Banks.
Maya Banks. Yeah, they were all e-published authors, and they learned how to go through the editing process. They learned how to write a story, cutting their teeth in e-publishing.
And to further validate e-publishing, the New York Times this year started putting out an EPUB list of the New York Times bestsellers. And Sam Hain, one of her publishers, had one of the first books that went on the EPUB that wasn't a New York publisher with ebooks. Sam Hain is an EPUB.